Only 1 in 100,000 players own this mount. Yo, what is up guys, this is vaulty back again with a brand new World of Warcraft video. There are so many mounts in World of Warcraft today that it's pretty much impossible to count all of them. However, that being said, not all mounts are equal. In fact, some mounts are really rare and hard to obtain. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the 10 rarest World of Warcraft mounts of all time. Starting off at the list at number 10 is the Swift ZULIAN Tiger. Guys, this was a mount that was released in classic World of Warcraft and is still really sought after today. However, the reason why this mount is so rare is that it's actually no longer obtainable. The original boss that dropped this is now actually removed from the game. The original version of this mount had a 2% drop chance from the boss called FELTALON in ZUL'Gurub. In Cataclysm, ZUL'Gurub got a revamp and this was actually taken out of the game. So this means that this is actually impossible to get today. The only way you can get the Swift ZULIAN Tiger today is if you get really lucky with the black market auction house. However, if you are lucky enough to get this is definitely one of the coolest looking mounts back in the day and still holds up today as a very aesthetically pleasing mount. I believe this is the only tiger mount in the game. Number 9 on this list is the FRENZIED FELTALON. So guys, if you don't know, there are certain achievements that you can unlock in game that can actually give you a mount. And one of these lines of achievements is actually collecting mounts itself. And this is a reward from collecting 400 mounts. And yes guys, you heard me correctly, to get this mount, you need to own 400 mounts on your account. That is just a really high number, and I actually believe the total amount of mounts that you can get is in the mid 400s. So you pretty much have to get all of the mounts in the game if you want to unlock this. This is an extremely hard mount to get, and very few people actually get it. You pretty much never see people riding this mount around. However, that being said, this is actually a very cool looking mount. There are quite a few mounts that are like this. The most famous example is the Heavenly Azure Cloud Serpent that you get after collecting 300 mounts. And at 350 mounts, you get the Biting Frostshard Core. Some people debate as to whether or not it's worth trying to get this achievement to unlock this mount, as it is a reskin of an existing mount. However, I think the bright green color actually looks pretty cool. Number 8 on this list is MIMIRON'S head. This is a really rare mount that you don't often see. It is one of the 2 robot head mounts that you can get in the game, so that makes it quite unique in itself. However, to get this mount, it only has a 0.99% drop chance from Yogg-Saron in Ulduar. A lot of people still farm this today to get a bunch of ults to go through Ulduar and kill Yogg-Saron for a chance of getting this drop. As I mentioned before, there is another robot head mount in the game in Battle for Azeroth. However, this is actually a unique model, and the only way to get it is by getting a very rare drop chance from Yogg-Saron. Number 7 on this list is the DEATHCHARGE'S REINS. So guys, this is a really classic mount. In fact, this has been farmed way back in the day of 2005. In classic World of Warcraft, you could actually argue that this is the rarest mount in that period of time. Simply because to get this mount, you would have to beat the final boss of Stratfoam at a 0.8% chance of dropping. Now remember, back in the day, it would probably take you about an hour to get to the end of this dungeon. There's still a 0.8% chance, and everyone in your group will be rolling for it as well. Each time you run this dungeon, you have a less than 0.2% chance of getting this drop. However, this is back in the days of classic World of Warcraft. Today, you could solo the dungeon over and over very easily, but that being said, it is still a 0.8% drop chance, so it will likely take hundreds of attempts to get this. The X factor with this mount is that back in the day, it was the only undead horse mount Alliance could ride on. So if you were Alliance and you had this mount back in the days of classic World of Warcraft, it was an absolutely insane sight to see. Number 6 on this list is INVINCIBLE'S REINS. This is a very popular mount for people to try and farm. The reason why this mount is so sought after is simply because this is basically Arthas's mount, and that is pretty cool in itself. As you can imagine, this only drops from Arthas for Lich King in the Icecrown Citadel dungeon. However, to farm this is going to be very difficult considering it has a 0.79% drop chance from Arthas. And when you factor in how long Icecrown Citadel is, it's going to take you quite a long time before you get this mount. However, that does not stop mount collectors from spending lots of hours trying to farm this mount themselves. Number 5 on this list is the Swift SHORESTRIDER. So guys, trading card game mounts are actually something that a lot of people have forgotten about. But back in the days of the Burning Crusade, Blizzard actually launched their own trading card game. This was back in the days before Hearthstone became a thing. The World of Warcraft trading card game was actually a commercial failure, and it really didn't do that well. It was pretty quickly ended by Blizzard. However, one of the key features of this trading card game, some of the real life cards you could get would have a redeemable code that you could put into World of Warcraft and get a real life item in the game. These were vanity items such as toys, tabards, and mounts. These codes for in-game items are no longer being produced today. They are for all intents and purposes a discontinued item, so that means the price of these is going to be very high. So any of the redeemable codes that you could put into World of Warcraft to get mounts, pets, and tabards often go in the thousands of dollars range. And one of the rarest mounts that you could get is the Swift SHORESTRIDER. Now the reason why I think this is so rare is because it's basically just a colored strider and it really doesn't stick out that much. However, anyone that is in the know that sees you with this mount knows that you're probably either really lucky or really rich, as to get this mount it will probably cost thousands of dollars to buy from the black market. Number 4. OG mounts. In the early days of World of Warcraft, Blizzard was still getting the hang of what an epic mount was. The original concept for an epic mount was basically just another recolor of the already existing mounts. However, these recolored mounts are some of the most rarest mounts that you never see today. In fact, they are so unbelievably rare, you will probably never see anyone with these kind of mounts. After patch 1.4 in World of Warcraft Classic, these mounts were actually removed from the game, meaning that there was no way to obtain them after that patch. So for a very limited amount of time, there was a few months where a player could get one of these mounts, but after that it was impossible to get them. Very few World of Warcraft players ever got these, because you could only get these mounts for a couple of months after the game got released, and you had to reach level 60 and get 1,000 gold to spend on these. So the average World of Warcraft player that played way back in the day pretty much had no chance of getting these mounts themselves. These OG mounts aren't actually that spectacular looking, however the rarity speaks for itself. But that being said, some of these OG mounts actually look pretty cool, such as the Winter Saber. Number 3. The Black QIRAJI Resonating Crystal. This was a Silithid mount that you could actually use outside of Anchorage. Needless to say, this was a really cool mount. However, you could only obtain this for 24 hours after someone hits the gong on your server. In Classic WoW, there was a system where during the release of Anchorage, if someone hit the gong outside of the dungeon for a limited period of time of 24 hours, people could obtain this mount, and after that it was literally impossible to get. So for only one day you could actually obtain this mount. So this is a mount you pretty much never see today. Number 2 on this list is the Big Blizzard Bear. This is a really unique mount, and the reason why it's so unique is that you are riding a bear that has a Murloc holding a BlizzCon flag. As you could guess, this is something that you could only obtain by attending a BlizzCon event. In particular, people attending the 2008 BlizzCon were given this code that you could redeem in game. And this was back in the days where World of Warcraft wasn't that known and mount collection wasn't really a big deal. It's kind of a shame that it's so absolutely rare, because this is a really cool looking mount, simply because there is literally a Murloc holding a BlizzCon flag. Owning this mount today is actually seen as a status symbol, because of its absolutely insane rarity and very unique appearance. But that being said, to get this mount today, you have to pay up really big to get a code. There are very limited amount of codes that you could redeem in game that haven't actually already been redeemed by a player. So to buy an unscratched code, it will cost you literally thousands of dollars to buy it on the internet. That just shows you how rare this mount is. But with that being said, here is a clip of the Big Blizzard Bear. Number 1 on this list is the Swift Spectral Tiger. When you think of a rare mount, this is what you think of. The Swift Spectral Tiger is an absolutely insane looking mount and is incredibly rare to get. The reason why this mount is so rare is because the only way you could obtain this is by redeeming a code from the trading card game, which pretty much everyone did back in the day. So the amount of unscratched codes that haven't been redeemed yet is pretty much next to zero. It's very hard to find some of these cards in the game that haven't been redeemed. To get one of these mounts today, you'll pretty much have to spend thousands of dollars to get it. If only we knew how much these cards would go for in the future, I think a lot of people would have stockpiled on TCG cards. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more World of Warcraft videos. This is vaulty, signing out.